Our president, Ms. Sarah Negumbo, has been with AfLIA for quite a long time. She was formerly the Southern African rep. She became the chairperson of the National Library session. She moved on to become the vice president, the second, then the first, or the vice president, and now she is the president. So Ms. Negumbo also is the National Librarian of Namibia. Ms. Negumbo, you are welcome to speak to your people this morning. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Appiah. Good morning, everyone. Let me stand on the protocol established, Doreen. It's quite a whole list of attendees, and we are happy that we have people that have registered and participating. So to that effect, I want to stand on the protocol established. Distinguished colleagues, esteemed librarians from across the African continent, invited speakers, and friends of AfLIA, good morning, good afternoon, depending on where you are joining us from. As I was already introduced, my name is Sarah Negumbo. I'm the Director for Namibia Library and Archive Service, and I'm also the AfLIA President. It's my profound pleasure and honor to welcome you all to the first ever AfLIA Open Access Virtual Summit, organized as part of the Global Open Access Week celebration. The fact that more than 100 of you have registered for this important engagement, it's indeed proof of the commitment, curiosity, and the urgency with which our African library community is approaching questions around open knowledge. Dear colleagues, the theme of this year's summit is "Who owns the knowledge?" Good question. I'm sure you would agree with me that the theme is a bold and a provocative one. It requires us to pause for a minute and reflect on the fundamental issues of equity, power, and justice in the production, preservation, and dissemination of knowledge. For too long, Africa's knowledge system, which is our science, our innovation, our cultures, and our indigenous wisdom, have been marginalized or locked behind barriers that limit visibility, access, and ownership. This summit is an opportunity for us to reclaim that space, to interrogate existing structures, and to shape an inclusive open access agenda that responds to Africa's realities. Ladies and gentlemen, the 4 tracks of our discussions today are carefully crafted to help us do just that. Allow me to briefly touch on the 4 tracks. Track 1, it asks us, who owns our knowledge? Persistent identifiers and metadata prioritizing best practice for open access. Here, colleagues, we are asking how technical tools such as persistent identifier and metadata can help ensure that Africa's research output are discoverable. It asks us whether it is citable, and it's also asking us whether it's truly part of the global knowledge ecosystem. Dear colleagues and dear participants, ownership starts with visibility, and visibility depends on standards and practices we embrace. The presenters are surely going to unpack this track, and we are surely going to be enlightened. Let me move on to track number 2, which is artificial intelligence. Who owns our knowledge? We are forewarned that artificial intelligence offers vast possibilities, but also it raises difficult questions about exploitation, intellectual property, and ethics. The question is, if algorithms are trained on African knowledge, who benefits? Good question. How are we ensuring that artificial intelligence does not take away the context and meaning from our intellectual heritage, but instead amplifies it responsibly? Again, we are going to allow the presenters to dig deep and to unpack this track, and we are surely going to be educated. Track number 3 is 3 calls. It's the calls for visibility, ownerships, and access of indigenous knowledge and citizen science. This track takes us back to our roots. That is our oral traditions, our cultural practices, and our lived experiences. Colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, how do we recognize this as legitimate knowledge systems? How do we preserve them digitally without stripping them of their community values? And how do we involve the citizens and the communities in co-creating science and documenting the richness of the African realities? Track number 4, which is our last track, is about digital infrastructures, structural inequities, and open access. This challenges us to confront the uneven playing field. For example, addressing pressing matters such as bandwidth cost, paywalls, technological disparities, and also funding gaps. For open access to be truly open, it must be equitable and sustainable. This is where libraries, our institutions, and our networks have a crucial role to play as enablers of access, as advocates for fair policies, and as well as the champions for digital justice. Colleagues, today we stand at an intersection. Open access is not just about removing paywalls. It's about dismantling knowledge walls. It's about us asking hard questions such as whose voices are heard, whose stories are told, whose research is cited, and whose knowledge is preserved. As AfLIA community, our mandate is clear, ladies and gentlemen. We must ensure that the African librarians, the researchers, the communities are passive consumers of global knowledge, but they are active creators, owners, and custodians of their own intellectual heritage. Colleagues, let this summit be a platform where we challenge ourselves. Let it be a platform where we inspire one another. Let it be a platform where we commit to actionable steps that will advance open access in Africa. Let us live here with new collaborations, sharper advocacy strategies, and above all, we must live here with a stronger conviction that Africa's knowledge belongs to Africa and to the world on Africa's own terms. I wish you a fruitful deliberation and an inspiring experience over the course of this visual summit. Thank you, and let us begin our session. Thank you.